In this book, Traction by Gabriel Weinberg, we talk about why you should spend your time both constructing your product and testing traction channels. This way, you'll build not only a good product, but the right product for your customers. So the 50% rule states that you should spend half your time figuring out how to advertise your product to customers and half your time building your product. When I started Speechify in the beginning, it was just a hack to make it easy for me to read my readings in school. And for the first few years, nobody was using the product. So the first thing that I did is I contacted a bunch of schools for kids with learning differences in areas around me, and I asked if I could come in to speak. And then I was speaking to conferences for people with dyslexia and ADHD, and when security wasn't looking, I would jump on the stage, plug in my computer, demo, and then a couple of school heads would offer to fly me to their schools to teach their kids how to use Speechify. But if I really knew what I was doing in the beginning, I would have done it slightly differently. Before I had even written a line of code, I would have started an email newsletter about dyslexia. I would have posted about it in LinkedIn, and I would have asked people to drop their email in the comments section. And I would have collected hundreds, if not tens of thousands of emails of people who were interested in this exact category. I did do the second best thing. When I started working on Speechify and I was coding every day, I had a principle. I had to spend 5 hours every single day in Xcode coding. But one of the goals that I set for myself was not only around coding, it was also around distribution. I had a very specific date set in my calendar. And on that date, I had to post a website with a video and the ability to prepay for Speechify. And I had to post in 5 Facebook groups and 5 Reddit groups. This post was how I validated that people would actually be willing to pay for Speechify. And it validated the rest of my work to justify putting all the time in that I had. Now, once I did this, the next way in which I scaled the product is I started writing a book publicly online about my experience with dyslexia. Focusing on distribution in this way might seem like you're slowing yourself down, but in the long term, it yields huge results. When you're working on a startup, it's a little bit like flying a plane off a cliff and building the wings on the way down. You have to figure out how to design, how to talk to users, how to recruit people, and also how to make sure people actually come through the door. Now, the invention part is not only the invention of the product, it's the invention of the distribution. And so what you have to do is test a bunch of different distribution channels. What are the different ways in which you can get people to learn about your product? And here's the thing you learn the more you build. In the end, you figure out some bullseye, some individual traction channel that is more powerful than everything else combined. It's called the power law, and you see it everywhere in nature. And so in 2020, I decided, okay, I'm going to stop some of the work I'm doing on the product, and I'm going to focus a lot more on distribution. So what I did is I made a list of the top 100 best performing consumer subscription apps in the world. And I found the emails of every CEO, every head of growth, every head of marketing. And I would email them, Instagram message them, LinkedIn message them to learn how they did distribution. And then after that, I moved to LA and I made friends with a lot of influencers. And I started to learn how they made content that converted really well. So as you continue to grow, you experiment through more and more and more distribution channels. The next product we're building is audiobooks for Speechify. And our goal is to become the #1 bookstore on the internet. So for that, referrals and SEO become much more powerful bullseye user acquisition channels. Next, traction testing. Over time, all marketing strategies become saturated. You're looking to be one step ahead of everybody else and build arbitrage. You should run tests to know what strategies are working best. And the key is to be number driven. Make sure that you measure what the cost of customer acquisition is for every channel, and then see if I increase my spend, if I increase my time, does it actually exponentially increase the number of people who are coming to my app or website or product? And if it's not, axe that channel and go focus on the big ones. Tests should have 2 focuses. 1, to optimize your channel strategy. If you're running ads on Facebook, how can you run those ads even more efficiently? And number 2, uncover better strategies. Can you unlock a new channel that was not available to you in the past? So for example, recently we've been experimenting with billboards. We put some billboards in UC Berkeley and in Washington, D.C. because there were 2 areas that had a lot of density of Speechify users. We don't know whether these experiments are going to work, but maybe they do. And if they do, you'll see a lot more Speechify billboards all over the place. If you like this video, this is a series called Cliff's Notes, where I break down my favorite books for you. I listen to about 100 books a year, and I've done so for the last 16 years, and I do all my listening with Speechify. So, if you haven't yet, click the link below to download the iOS app with the Chrome extension, the web app, the Android app, the API, and as always, happy listening.